It's 6:50 a.m. This is the Now Morning Show, and we are having a great time this morning. I mean, just we're having a wonderful time because it's all things steel pan, and we're talking about a new podcast. And when I say new, I mean it started in 2020, but it's definitely new to some of us here because they say Trinis are everywhere. And the reality is steel pan is no different. Danielle George has created an entire podcast to the instrument, fittingly called All Things Pan. Danielle, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Now, thank you for being with us because I know it's just a little bit earlier than it is in Trinidad and Tobago. Would you mind sharing with our viewers what time it is where you are?
It's 4:50 in the morning.
And that is love and dedication to our steel pan national instrument, Trinidad and Tobago. Danielle George, tell us something. You have been playing pan since you were 7 years old, is that correct?
Correct.
And when did you realize, okay, pan is going to become a mainstay in my life?
Honestly, I didn't realize it until I was like in my mid-20s. I just thought, hey, why not just go for it? Why not?
And you really have, because since then, I mean, I know you've played at events. I dare say, if I'm not mistaken, you're also an educator as well. And you're really an ambassador for the instrument. How is it accepted in Alberta?
It is it's acceptable here in Alberta. I think with my dad starting the band, we're celebrating our 40th anniversary this year. It just kind of, it's opened doors for pan here in Alberta. So people are excited when they see pan.
So when you mention the band, you're talking about that which you are now the president of, is that correct? The Trincan Steel Orchestra?
Correct.
Wonderful.
Correct. And that's Trinidad, Canada.
Okay. You see, you learn something new every day.
Yeah.
And so you grew up then watching the band, correct? So
pretty much. Grew up. I pretty much was born into it.
And I know, of course, you have two boys, and that's also the legacy being passed on, and maybe you might see another president come out of them. So tell us a little bit about your podcast. I know in May 2020, you started the Instagram Live podcast, All Things Pan. What inspired you, and what are some of the aims that you have for your podcast?
Yeah, for sure. Honestly, during the pandemic, I noticed there wasn't really a lot of information about steel pan. So I spoke to my dad, I spoke to a few of my pan fraternity just to see if it's something that people would be interested in. And people were just like, yes, you should do it. I'm a very shy person at heart. So for me to actually do this podcast was stepping out of my box. But yeah, ever since then, I just kind of went with it. Had Kern Somerville, I had Michael Hospitalis, I had Len Bugsy Sharp, I've had Natasha Joseph, I've had so many people. And my aim with this podcast is just to have people see Panis in a different way. Instead of, we are musicians, but we are human as well. So just to get to know us on a personal level is the reason why I started.
And how has it been accepted so far? Because you now be a little bit over your second year, correct?
Correct.
And how has it been accepted by the steel pan community as well?
Very well. Actually, better than I expected.
It's one of those things that you created and you didn't realize what it was going to blossom into.
Yeah, for sure.
And what about the involvement of your orchestra as well? Are they a part of the podcast?
Not at the moment, only because everyone's busy doing with work and school and stuff, but I eventually want to get a few of my members on the show just to get their experiences with pan in Alberta, instead of seeing my view.
Wonderful. Now, do you think, I mean, don't get me wrong, of course, we're in the digital age, so podcasts are the thing. IG Lives are mainstream. It's part of our culture now. Yeah. But do you think that this is something that you could possibly see becoming in person in some instances, perhaps going to panyards? Yeah.
Yes. Eventually, I would love to have that happen.
All right. And when does your podcast take place?
It takes place Monday nights, 7 or 8 p.m. your guys' time, 6 p.m. my time. Right now, I'm just taking a break because it is summer. Everyone's busy. So I'm hoping to come back in September.
All right, so we're looking at seasons.
Yes.
Is it
going on season 6?
Season 6, fantastic. Now, of course, we don't want you to give too much away because Trinidad and Tobago and the world watching right now, we would love for you to take a look at the podcast. But do we also see possibly some other aspects of Trinbagonian culture coming into your podcast as well?
Yeah, eventually that will come. Right now, I just want people to get to know a lot of the panists around the world. I've had people from France on my show. I'm trying to get someone from Japan. The time difference is a lot, but I'm trying to make that happen. But eventually that will.
And how do you feel going into season 6? I mean, now that we've spoken, as you said, this is not just something that is for the diaspora or for the region. This is a global thing. How do you feel going into season 6? How do you feel about being a representative for the steel pan itself?
Actually, I never thought I'd be the representative. I just thought, hey, this is something I love, something I'd like to share. Season 6, I'm excited. There's some big things happening. I don't want to say too much, but we have some exciting things happening for season 6 for sure.
Absolutely fantastic. Now, tell us a little bit about what it is like being the head of your own orchestra. I mean, being a mother, educator, everything else in between. Now, of course, a host and being the president of the orchestra. What is that like for you?
It's honestly, it's nothing different. It's something I love doing. It's an instrument that I love playing, love bringing it out to the world. So to me, it's like every day for me. It's fun.
Now, of course, you have a unique perspective when it comes to steel pan being brought up abroad within the Caribbean community. Where would you like to see steel pan in, let's say, the next 50 years or so?
Oh, I would love to see Pan everywhere. I'd love to see Pan win a Grammy. I'd love to see Pan just doing tours. I know some bands are doing it, but we need to do bigger tours where it's more recognized and not just as an instrument seeing when you come off a cruise ship.
Understood, because if it's one thing, and I know sometimes many Trimbagonians, they're like, but what's going on there? Because you see all these different cruises, and then you just see somebody there with these steel pan. It could be Hawaii, it could be wherever. But at the end of the day, of course, it's an amazing gift that we are sharing with the world. Daniel, before we wrap this morning, could you share with us what your platforms are so that we can definitely get on board with your podcast?
For sure. So my podcast is at allthingspan_, and my personal handle is Danielle Plays Pan. So hope you guys follow me and see my journey.
Oh, definitely. So you're sure you can't give us like one little teaser as to what's coming up? Just one? Just one? No. Okay. All right. Well, Trinidad and Tobago.
I do the same thing. No.
Trinidad and Tobago, we tried. Danielle, thank you so much for being with us this early in the morning. Thank you for being an ambassador for Steel Pan, and we look forward to having you back on the show soon.
Thank you.
All Things Pan host Daniel George right here on the Now Morning Show. Trinidad and Tobago, we are celebrating Steel Pan not just this morning, but we're celebrating it all day long. So stay tuned. This is the Now Morning Show.